This edition of defenceWebTV is proudly brought to you by Omnigo, your preferred electronics manufacturing services company. In this program, the fallout of President Ramaphosa's denial of arms alleged to have been loaded for Russia onto the Russian merchant vessel Lady R. Increasing mobility capacity for exercise Vukuhlome. 15 squadrons' operational readiness tested in the Eastern Cape. And first orders are rolling in for the SVI 6-wheeled Max 3. The Lady R might have sailed, but the story just won't float. That's according to the Democratic Alliance Party, challenging President Ramaphosa's vehement denial of arms alleged to have been loaded onto the Russian merchant ship in Simonstown recently. This comes on the back of the president not releasing the full report.
The crane was still working under spotlight and stuff was loaded onto the vessel, and we want to know what was loaded onto the vessel. We have got very good intel in telling us what was loaded.
In a show of serviceable capacity, refurbished military vehicles will be made available for Exercise Vukuhlome in November this year to take place at the Combat Training Center in the Northern Cape region. While in the Eastern Cape at Wavecrest, the South African Air Force's 15 Squadron held its Charlie Flight Operational Readiness Camp for the year.
For the duration of this camp, the following exercises were conducted: single engine and emergency training, night flying, cargo slinging and hoisting, and combat search and rescue. This exercise is crucial training for helicopter pilots to prepare them to retrieve a downed pilot behind enemy lines.
An African nation placed the first order for the SVI 6-wheeled Max 3 armored vehicle. Based on Toyota's proven Land Cruiser 79 chassis, it's powered by a 4.5-litre V8 turbo diesel powertrain, giving a top speed of 140 km per hour. The addition of a third axle means the Max 3's gross vehicle mass can be safely increased to 5,500 kilograms from 3,800 kgs, opening the door to numerous military and security applications, including the fitment of various weapon systems, cargo carrying options, or field ambulance configurations, with a total payload of 1,500 kilograms. AMD, in association with DefenceWeb, recently held its first private-public partnership conference for the defense industry.
The significance of this event is quite critical. We are at a juncture where we've got a security cluster that is severely under-resourced from a capability perspective. On the other hand, we have a South African defense and security industry broadly that is severely underutilized in as far as those capabilities are concerned on the local level. So fortunately, within the South African legislation, there is law that allows the public and the private sector to talk together and bring in private capital to capacitate the state in areas where there are weaknesses. As a South African defense industry, our primary client should and will always be the South African government. So whether you are talking South African Police or the South African National Defence Force or now the Border Management Agency, that should remain our priority. The technology that we develop, first and foremost, is for utilization at home more than for exports. But for reasons that everyone is aware of, the declining of the defense and security budgets, that has forced our industry to pivot externally. With the challenges that we are facing now as a country, I mean, the illegal mining, the crime, the sabotage of economic infrastructure, you need our government to be properly capacitated so that they can deal with these challenges that we are facing.
I think the issue of triple Ps is quite complex, and not just for South Africa, but I think for the world, over. In the defense sector, it becomes even more complex because of the sensitivity nature of the work that we do. But I think the key thing that needs to happen, and I think that, in my view, should be the first step, is having that policy alignment or policy drive that will enable PPPs, because I think everything starts at the top, right?
The market in South Africa for defense material is in the decline, and it's been in decline for the last number of years. And that provides a problem for the industry on the one side, but also for government to obtain what it requires. And therefore, I think government has to have a very clear re-look at the urgency of the matter in terms of how, through private sector engagement, actually production can be enhanced in South Africa. If we have to meet our employment targets, we have to grow the economy at 3%, at least. And that means also for the defense sector the same. So time is of the essence. There is an urgency. From our experience over the last 5 years, of what we are doing as far as public-private growth initiative is concerned, PPGI, is that where there is a willingness and a preparedness to sit together around the same table and find the answers, then we can go forward.
Brought to you by Omnigo, your preferred electronics manufacturing services company.